Welcome to the Super Intelligent Podcast with Mike Elgin and Emily Forlini. My name is Mike Elgin. Emily is actually on maternity leave from this podcast. Yes, she had a baby and she will be joining us at some point in the future. In the meantime, it's just me, and I'm here to talk to you about what's happening with AI slop, with AI video generation tools, and other phenomena that are creating mysterious events in the tech industry, starting with Sora. OpenAI just killed Sora out of the blue. This is the AI video generation tool that perfected Will Smith eating pasta. This is the one that was able to add sound that made sense to go with a video, to add special effects that let you upload your own face and create yourself in random scenes in a way that looked almost photorealistic. This is the tool that caused Tyler Perry to cancel the construction on an expansion to his film studio in Atlanta, Georgia. This is the tool that prompted the CAA talent agency in Hollywood to issue a statement saying that Sora was a threat to the livelihood of actors in Hollywood. This is the tool that Disney paid OpenAI $1 billion to incorporate into a deal in which Disney characters would be fodder for people creating AI-generated videos. OpenAI killed it, and everybody's got a theory as to why they killed it, and I have my own, and that's what I'm here to talk about today. Now, just to review what the reality was with Sora, OpenAI launched it in February of 2024, a little over 2 years ago. They initially could make 1 minute long videos, kind of blew everybody's mind. And then in December of 2024, they released a version called Sora Turbo, and they had a website called Sora.com. It was open to ChatGPT Plus and Pro users, and it could generate videos up to 20 seconds long at 1080p. And then in September of 2025, OpenAI launched the Sora 2 app. This noxious little tool could be used. This is the one where you could upload your face. They simultaneously made it super easy for you to upload yourself, and then they made it much more difficult for you to upload somebody else, like a celebrity or whatever, for abusing somebody else's likeness. So that was nice. But essentially, this tool was something that was seen as evidence that people would be able to type a few words and create a feature-length movie someday. Actors would not be needed. Cinematographers would not be needed. Set designers, costume designers, obsolete. This is a tool that made people in the grip industry tremble in their sneakers, and frankly, this created enormous amounts of panic. But then OpenAI killed it. And what in the heck was going through their minds when they killed it? And so the theories are I think the number one theory, if it's a theory, it's actually a statement by OpenAI. They said they were killing it because it was a distraction from what really mattered to them, which is robotics. Yeah, you heard that right, robotics. Right now, OpenAI is not associated with robotics in any way, shape, or form. Most people assume that the reasons they killed it is because of high computing costs, because people were kind of going meh after the initial sort of, parlor trick, razzle dazzle from the novelty of the whole thing. People kind of wandered away because, like, why make AI videos? Like, if you're not trolling or creating memes or doing something else like that, creating vegetable people on fake reality shows on TikTok, then what's the point of a tool like this? There were threats over copyright. There is another reason, which is a fourth quarter IPO that's expected this year from OpenAI. I actually think that's the best reason. But my take on this is that they killed it for two reasons. Number one of the data points we don't have about Sora is that we don't know how much it costs OpenAI to churn out these Will Smith pasta videos. What does that cost? Was it $5 per video? was it $20 per video? Was it $1 per? We don't know. We have no idea. And I think that's everything. That would be, if it was $20 per video. That's catastrophically expensive, which would cause this company to burn through cash. And I think that OpenAI might be looking at the cost of running these pointless videos and comparing that to what really matters, which is enterprise applications that companies pay a lot of money for, military applications. And so you have, on the one hand, you have something that's of very high cost and low value, and they think their future is reasonable cost and much higher value. And so that's a big part of it. But I also think the second reason is the IPO. I think it's become clear that AI slop in general, and slop is in the eye of the beholder, but basically whether Sora is producing slop or high quality art, the fact is that I think most people are very aware of slop. Slop is something that if anybody gets anywhere near Facebook, you just see it everywhere. Meta is super into slop. As I pointed out on this podcast before, you go to Instagram and there are basically two places where you see stuff, videos, right? So you have pictures and all that stuff. Nobody, Meta doesn't care about pictures anymore. They're really about TikTok style videos. And there's two places for those. One is the AI section. So you can pass through the AI section and they're the videos generated by Meta's own AI app. They push this on users in every place they could, including the Ray-Ban Meta glasses. If you open the app for the Ray-Ban Meta glasses, they're pushing their AI stuff on you for reasons unknown. And so that's 100% AI generated video. And then on Instagram, you scroll down a little bit more and then it's Reels or Stories or whatever it is. I think it's Reels. And that's like 30% AI videos. So the vast majority of videos that you see on Instagram are AI generated. And people are fed up. Nobody wants to see them. They're dumb. They're misleading sometimes. They're nauseating. They can be vexing. And nobody's impressed anymore. Like everybody's completely used to video, AI videos. You can do anything with AI videos. You can mislead. You can create memes. You can upset people. You can trick less sophisticated users. And, we've been at this for a couple of years now, and it's really not that interesting to anyone anymore. It's just in the way, and it's just annoying. And yet the companies keep pushing them at us because they think there's money to be made, there's ads to be sold, and so on. I think having Sora being an AI video generation tool and having the company be associated with this tool is problematic for their IPO. Because when you do an IPO like that, you need to demonstrate to potential stock purchasers that you have a financially sound future. And if your whole model is like churning out AI slop, or if that's the association people have with your company, it's a tougher sell. If you show up as a company that's serious about being a dominant player in the world of generative AI tools for enterprises, with robotics, with self-driving cars, with all these things that are going to be real businesses in the future, then you probably have a much better chance at having a successful IPO. So I think the stench of AI slop was something they could scrape off their shoe well in advance of the IPO. And I think that has a lot to do with their decision to kill Sora. What's interesting about the public reaction to AI slop is that there isn't actually agreement on it. There are companies like Meta who just think it's fantastic. And among the public is clearly divided on this. You go to any sort of social media site, just in the online world in general, you see AI slop all over the place. You see people who think that AI slop is some kind of a solution to whatever problem. I have friends that I see on social networks who just post AI generated pictures of themselves and videos of themselves, and just as if, where there would normally be actual videos and actual photos, and they're fine with it. They fine with being represented that way. In fact, I think that there are a lot of people who prefer the AI version of themselves to the photographed version of themselves. Most people don't like the way they look in photos, and when they generate an AI video, it can generate somebody who doesn't quite look like you. And I think a lot of people prefer somebody who doesn't look like them. And anyway, we see it all the time. We see companies continuing to make that mistake. But I think it's clear that the majority is pretty much against AI slop. For example, in the content creation world, let's say in the world of gaming, people are very sensitive to the idea that human artists will be replaced by AI generated video. NVIDIA released a tool, what was it called? DLSS5. And what this did was they would take regular gaming graphics and you would sprinkle DLSS5 pixie dust on it, and it would improve the graphics and make them look higher resolution, make them look a little bit more realistic, improve the lighting, improve the colors, basically juice them up and make them look better. And in the demos that NVIDIA released, they did look better. But there's a huge backlash for this tool, which, by the way, has not been released. It's been demoed, but not released. And a lot of the gaming community was just horrified by this, saying, that they're basically taking human-generated art and transforming it into AI-generated art. Jensen Huang said, basically, quote, "I don't love AI slop myself," unquote. But he also said that critics misunderstand what the tool does. He believes that this tool is a way to enable human artists to create video game art, video game weapons, and other objects. And so that controversy is unresolved, but it basically pointed out that you can't just push AI tools on creative communities that lionize human artistic creations without getting slapped back in public. There are a lot of parents who are super concerned that AI slop is infiltrating YouTube and elsewhere. In fact, it's mainly AI-generated content farms that make it a very bad idea to just turn your kids loose on YouTube and let them find their own videos. Children's videos that are completely nonsensical, made with low-quality AI, they're just churning out massive quantities of just garbage for children. And, these are hallucinating, bizarre drug trips on video. And if parents aren't paying attention, kids are like looking at this stuff and it's just probably confusing them about the world. And so there are a lot of parents that are pushing YouTube and others to shut this stuff down. YouTube claims they're trying. But just one article on a publication called Undark gave an example of what kind of nonsense these children's videos are offering kids. And I'm quoting from the article. "The video opens with the children's riding, without seatbelts, in the front row of a moving vehicle. The next scene shows the girl defying physics, floating alongside a moving car, while a boy is seated in what appears to be the hood of the vehicle as it travels backward down a busy street. The third and fourth scenes show the children walking in the middle of the road with moving cars behind them." Anyway, so all this stuff where there's just carelessness in the creation of these videos. Because the creators are making thousands of them very quickly so they can just flood the zone with this garbage and they can collect the money for the advertising that's shown to the kids that go with these. But these kinds of stories don't, to me, represent the real problem, which is just the ubiquity of AI-generated images and videos in our world. I read an article recently about New Yorkers complaining about every little bodega and restaurant and fast food joint in the city is advertising their products with AI slop. And so what you used to have, and I've seen this all over the world actually, where a small restaurant, for example, will go in with their phone and take pictures of the food and then plaster the pictures of the food all over the window so people can see what the food looks like. These always look terrible. But now they're replacing them with AI-generated versions. So they're showing these like dishes that have nothing to do with what the restaurant serves. They're just iconic representations of the kinds of food that they serve. And produce in grocery stores and all kinds of stuff. So it's little by little, what used to be photography is being replaced by AI-generated imagery, and the world of advertising small businesses in New York City is looking faker and faker with each passing day. And that's a problem for a lot of New Yorkers. I actually do use Facebook. And the reason I use Facebook is there are many, many people who are friends and relatives who are on Facebook. And if I stop using Facebook, which I tried to do years ago, I just, I lose touch with those people. End of story. I'll never hear from them again. So I go to Facebook to connect with a lot of the people I know. You see all these web channels that Meta pushes on you, like you haven't signed up for it, but it figures out your interest from your activity around the internet and then pushes them on you. It knows that I'm interested in history. And so although there are all these history sites, channels, I don't know what they are, some Facebook group, I don't know what they are, but basically they're history related Facebook accounts that Meta wants me to follow. And they do all this stuff where they show historic events. Again, AI is seen as a solution to the problem of how do you visualize history? And so they show these AI-generated scenes from ancient Rome or ancient Mexico or ancient places, and they just look ridiculous. If you know anything about the history, it's just purely misleading. So yes, it creates an impression on the mind, but it's a false impression of what the past looked like. There's a great one. I saw it myself. I saw it twice a couple of months ago, and then somebody actually mentioned it to me. And what it was basically the history of Paris. So they show the river that goes through Paris, and they show a hut, and then there's 2 huts, and then 5 huts, and then they show it grow into modern Paris over time. Well, it's like, yeah, I mean, in concept, they were more or less kind of along the lines of what happened, because it started out with the island where Notre Dame Cathedral is, spread out from there. But it's just the way the huts look, the way that everything was, it's just completely all wrong. It was just totally misleading and vexing, because it's just, again, this is an AI tool that's just making stuff up, impressing on human minds something, basically creating memories in human brains of something that an AI tool just conjured out of nothing or conjured out of everything. And it's something that's really bothersome to see it just everywhere. And I think the other part of the AI backlash is the knowledge that while AI generated video is expensive for the companies that are offering it, it tends to be very inexpensive for the people using it. And that's why people use it, because it's cheap. It's much cheaper to create a marketing plan with AI tools than it is to do it the old-fashioned way. And brands like J.Crew and Coca-Cola have seen their reputations trashed when they tried to use AI-generated pictures or videos for marketing their products. There's a bunch of other examples. There are a couple of dozen major examples. One of the reasons is that people know it's cheap. I mean, Coca-Cola has been making super high-quality ads for decades. They've put a lot of money into their ads in the past, and that's one of the impressive things about their advertising in the past. And then when they create a Christmas commercial using AI, well, no, it was a couple of people, took them 4 hours or something, or at least that's the assumption. They certainly didn't fact check the number of axles on a truck and other little details in their videos, because those are all over the map. And it's interesting that companies like Coca-Cola have their reputations harmed, and it comes as a kind of surprise to them. Like they never occurred to them that somehow that what happened to so many other companies would also happen to them. So AI videos are seen as just cheap. Another problem with AI-generated videos is that they are manipulative, especially on Facebook. You go to Facebook, and for, I don't know, a year and a half, there were just thousands of videos churned out trying to create sympathy for AI-generated children, for AI-generated veterans. They would create these bizarre scenarios, logically ridiculous, but emotionally fraught. So, for example, there was a long series of AI-generated videos on Facebook and elsewhere where they'd show these old soldiers, people in their 50s and 60s with tattered, camouflage uniforms on a big airplane. And it would be something along the lines of, "Finally, I get to go home." And it's like, what's going on there? Like, this is not happening. has no reality whatsoever. There was another one I mentioned, the pathetic children. There'll be some child who, it was always some theme where the child is in some pathetic situation. They're in like shallow water, and it would be like, oh, it's my birthday and nobody cares. It's my birthday, or some weird thing like that. Sometimes the kids would have multiple heads, but never mind that. The AI has gotten better in recent years, but they're trying to, for the first year that you're bludgeoned daily with pathetic scenes that are designed to go straight at your emotions. At some point, people are just going to be like, enough of this. It's like, this is ridiculous. It never stops. And so that's another source of backlash to the AI slop phenomenon. And then there's a kind of a practical one, which is just what is to become of human content creators. And there are some content creating communities that have done a better job of pushing back than others. One of the best ones is the comic book world, which, of course, comic books are all about human creativity. San Diego's Comic-Con has actually banned all AI comics. And it was just last week that the digital comic platform Global Comics removed all the AI content that was on their site. Marvel Comics editor-in-chief C.B. Cebulski established a strict anti-AI policy in late 2025 for all Marvel Comics. Book publishers are pushing back. The Hatchet Book Group canceled the upcoming release of a horror novel called Shy Girl by Mia Ballard because they believe the author used AI to write it. And public libraries are writing strict collection policies to filter out books with AI-generated content. All of this is based on the fear that AI will get so good that it will replace human creators. And for now, some of the pushback in the content creating community is just the fact that, especially among libraries, is that AI-generated content is garbage. It's bizarre, and children's books written with AI are terrible. But what happens when they're not terrible? Like, what happens when they're really good? I think that's even bigger fear than that AI will generate terrible content. And that's it's not just about protecting human content creators, it's about protecting culture. Because what culture is, the whole world of content creation is a communication between a content creator and a content consumer, to use the language that everybody uses these days. Between a writer and a reader, it's a conversation between the two. It's not just like, oh, the reader's a consumer, wants to buy reading material, and who cares where it came from. That's one perspective. One attribute of writing is that writers are also readers. Like, there's no such thing as a writer who doesn't read other writers. It's basically a conversation among writers, and then between writers and readers as well. And all of this is just the cultivation of ideas, of stories. And if we turn over the writing part to robots, then where are we? Things that are based on human imagination, on human experience, on human emotions, on all the things that people go through, and they share what they've been through with readers. Okay, if we cut that in half, we send the writers to the unemployment line, and we have an industry where readers are reading the words generated by software. Then, like, where does that go? Like, what experiences are being expressed? What communication is being had? That's one of the reasons why some of these content creation communities are pushing back so hard against AI-generated content. So that's my theory about why OpenAI killed Sora. Just to recap, I think it's a couple of things. First, I think that this impressive AI generation tool has been very, very expensive for OpenAI, and people are generally losing interest, and they're just coming to the conclusion that it's just not worth it. And number two, I think they want to have a successful IPO. I think they need to have a successful IPO and become a real company someday, instead of a company that just burns cash and exists through ever increasing amounts of investment. And I think the AI backlash, which I think OpenAI probably knows is going to get worse and worse throughout the year, tarnishes their reputation and skews what people think they are as a company. Meta, can afford to be a company that's all about AI slop because they have other going concerns. They're one of the dominant players in online advertising. They have multiple social networks. They have WhatsApp, for crying out loud. They have virtual reality stuff. They got a lot of businesses. They're going concern. The AI part is just a play for the future. Whereas with OpenAI, AI is everything. That's the only thing they have. And so they can't afford to be associated with a noxious phenomenon like AI slop. Anyway, that's my theory as to why OpenAI killed Sora. In other AI news, there's a new study coming out of Stanford that shows that people who use AI chatbots for relationship advice end up getting some bad advice. And the problem is our old friend AI sycophancy, whereby the person who's asking for the relationship advice is told, yeah, you're right, always takes their side and that sort of thing. And so the study, which had an interesting methodology, they wanted to see how getting advice from a chatbot was different from getting AI from real people. And so the role of real people was played by Reddit, of all things. I'm not sure that's the best representation of humanity, but that's what they did. And they found that the Reddit consensus tended to be, no, you're the asshole, you did the wrong thing, would be much more likely to say that when scenarios were presented to the Reddit community. And the AI chatbot would always go the other way and say, no, the other person is wrong, you're right, and so on. And this sort of flattering, sycophantic response by chatbots that we're also so familiar with was actually giving bad advice. Now, what they found then is that people would go into their relationships and it would actually damage their relationships and cause problems. It would teach them basically that they should always think they're correct and the other person's wrong and to move in that direction. And as the researchers pointed out, actual social interaction is rarely frictionless because people are not perfectly aligned on things. And so part of the process of learning to have relationships with other people is that there's a give and take, and there's like, a humility that you have to bring to relationships in order to make it all work. Whereas with sycophantic chatbots, that whole perspective, you don't need humility. You just need a chatbot that agrees with you. And this can be a problem. And again, they are not out to create a doomsday scenario and just generically say that AI chatbots are the end of the world or whatever. But what they are saying is that something has to be done about this sycophancy thing, and or something has to be done about people turning to chatbots for relationship advice, because this is not a good combination. Anyway, it's really interesting research. Everybody should check it out. It's in the news as we speak. And of course, the larger problem is that sycophancy is part of the business plan. So it's built in so that people will like the chatbots more. All this flattery and agreement is a way for chatbots and chatbot-based products to get attachment, emotional attachment, friendship attachment from users so that they will prefer this tool over that tool. And the company that makes the sycophantic chatbot can make more money. However it is they're monetizing. So anyway, this is a problem. This is probably not a surprise. And as with other studies that are along these lines, they also create a false sense of confidence in the user, a belief that they have good information. They also tended to have a belief that when asked that the AI chatbots were being objective and were not being sycophantic. This is a pattern that shows up again and again in the research, which is that chatbots not only create delusions in people, but they create delusions about the chatbot itself. And so that's something that as a society, we need to look out for. Well, this has been the Super Intelligent Podcast with Mike Elgin and Emily Forlini. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and please send us email to superintelligentpodcast@gmail.com. Let us know what you think, and give us as many stars as you can, probably 5 if you can. and a glowing review. Share this podcast with your friends. We want to share the joy. So thanks again for joining us, and we will see you next time.